Did you know there's a food so dangerous that most airline companies won't allow it on board their flights? Well, there is. And if the explosive risk from the buildup of rotten gases inside the tin cans won't kill you mid-flight, then the smell of its content probably will. G'day gastromites and welcome to History of a Dish. I'm your host Torbs Lindgren, and today we're taking a look at the history of one of the world's vilest delicacies ever, the Swedish Surströmming. When the summer rolls to a close in Sweden, holidaymakers might smell something rather curious wafting through the air alongside the aroma of barbecuing meat. Well, this is the time of year when the Swedes decide to crack open tins of fermented fish, a stinky culinary tradition that dates back several centuries and is often associated with the smell of, let's say, 43,000 rotting eggs stuffed in an open sewage drain. Surströmming, which translates to sour fish, is produced using Baltic sea herring caught in the prime during the spring and is fermented in traditional methods, usually for a minimum of 6 months. It has developed a reputation as a legendary food for enthusiasts, partly due to the way it smells when the can is first opened. Once it is opened, preferably outside, since the pungent smell will linger for a long time and make your house smell like a public lavatory for months to come. Well, then the fermented whole herrings are deboned, their swollen pink innards pulled out and their putrid flesh cut into small slivers. And once you get past its foul odour, you'll be met with a salty, fishy taste that is actually not quite as bad as it smells. The slivers of fish are then traditionally eaten with a thin bread known as tunnbröd, using 2 slices to create a sandwich. In addition to the fish, these sandwiches often contain sliced potatoes, onions and a dollop of sour cream. These are commonly known as a surströmmingsklämma and remain popular in northern Sweden, where the dish originates from. These condiments will help tone down the fish's strong taste and make it more palatable. Cold milk is usually consumed alongside surströmming, probably because its mild taste balances the fish's strong salty taste. But if it's a proper rotten sour fish garden party, well, then beers, schnapps, vodka and aquavit is often served too. Cheers for that, I say. But just how did the dish of rotten fish come to be in the first place? Well, the history of surströmming is actually quite fascinating. So, just how long have the Swedes been eating surströmming? It's a little bit unclear, but there are records of the fermented Baltic sea herrings being consumed from the 16th century, although it is very possible that the history stretches back even further. And by the way, surströmming is not the only fermented dish that remains today. There are similar delicacies in Korea known as hongo, and Japan in the form of kusaya. But the Swedish delicacy is perhaps the most famous, with its characteristic and legendary odour. So the question most people probably ask is not when people started eating surströmming, but how and why. Fermented fish has long been a staple across Europe. The oldest archaeological proof of such dishes was found in southern Sweden and is 9,200 years old. However, that was not surströmming. There are many theories as to how surströmming became part of Sweden's culinary culture. The most colourful story traces its roots back to Swedish sailors in the 16th century. The sailors were apparently running low on salt, which was a common way to preserve food, and their barrels of herring began to go bad. They sold the rotten fish to some locals at a Finnish port, but a year later, when the sailors returned, the Finns actually requested more of the rotten herring, because they had enjoyed it so much. This prompted the Swedish sailors to try it themselves. They apparently liked it too, and the surströmming was born. Legends aside, the history of surströmming seems to begin during a time when brine was very expensive, and the weak brine used in the fermenting process could have been a way to cut costs for preservation that led to this dish. At the time, storing the fish in wooden barrels would have been normal practice, with families making a batch of the delicacy and eating it over time. Canning the product only appeared in the 19th century, and it's here where surströmming became a commercial product. Modern surströmming really hasn't changed all that much. The process can, of course, be done in commercial volumes today, but the use of strong brine for a day and then a long time in weak brine remains. The canning process has allowed surströmming to be stored and transported much further afield than ever before, allowing an increasing number of people all around the world to sample and enjoy this most famous of Swedish delicacies. Did I actually say enjoy?